Hey, I'm Randy Younger, New York City's go to film enthusiast. Every week, I dive deep into the world of cinema with special guests from the New York City film scene. Whether I'm interviewing industry insiders or comparing the latest releases, there's always something for every movie lover. Join me as I explore the magic of film and discover what makes these movies unforgettable. Hey guys, I'm Randy Younger, and this is a special episode of Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. And with me tonight, I have a dear friend to me personally and to the show, Mr. Chris Clemente. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Oh, thank you so much, Randy. You give the best introductions. Thank you so
Oh,
much. And likewise. Yeah.
of course. Thank you so much. Awesome, awesome. So happy to have you back. And we're going to have our standard episode of two movie reviews, one new film and one older film. But before we get into our reviews, I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that we lost a very talented comedic actor this week, Mr. George Wendt. Best known for his recurring role as Norm Peterson on the beloved NBC sitcom Cheers from, I believe it was 1982 up to 1993 with 11 seasons as a recurring character. He was just so warm and cuddly and likable and just a really great presence on the show. He really grounded things. And whenever he would enter the bar, obviously everyone would yell Norm, and that just really set the tone for pretty much every episode. He really was wonderful. And just real quick, Chris, were you a fan of Cheers and Mr. Wentz works?
Oh, sure. I mean, Cheers. I gotta say, I'm not too familiar with his filmography. I probably know him from Cheers, Norm, and also probably the Saturday Night Live, The Bears sketches. But like you said, Randy, like his character as Norm really set the tone for Cheers. I
Mhm.
mean, Cheers has such a warm spot in American television culture, and I think that character in itself, Norm, is probably one of the all-time favorite, TV characters. And I mean, just going through some of the one-liners as he would enter the bar, with Woody or Ted Danson or anyone. Like it was always just a great zing and a great, just laughable start to the show. So, he's surely going to be missed.
Yeah, you know, the show is so good. I actually fairly recently revisited the first few seasons, and it
Hmm.
definitely holds up. It's basically the same formula that sitcoms still use today. You know, you have
Yeah.
a very basic setting, and then you have some really funny, likable characters thrown into that setting,
Hmm.
and that's a show. You know, and that's basically what NBC has been doing ever since Cheers, and ever
Yeah.
since it aired over 40 years ago and ended over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm probably going to start rewatching a bunch of the old episodes too because they're really good. The whole cast is just wonderful.
There's
And
chemistry to
when
know like it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and when yeah, just went really he really added a lot of good flavor to it. And
Yeah.
um, you know, in a way he glorified alcoholism, but it's fine. It's fine. It's just
Yeah. It's
TV.
yeah, I think yeah, and I think that show has its place in the past and could be seen as a little outdated. It could be seen as glorifying alcoholism. But I think at that moment in time, it
Hmm.
was like, you're done with work, you're done with your day, just, pop one open and just relax type of, nostalgia and atmosphere. So we won't hold it against it, but but surely his character did just really set that laughable tone, right off from the get-go of each episode. Yeah.
And the exterior of the Cheers bar in Boston has been
Hmm.
adorned with tributes and flowers, and I think
Hmm.
people have been putting beers there too. I'm assuming, but it's just a really touching moment in
Yeah.
TV, like you said, TV culture. So that's
Yeah, I've been there. I've
yeah,
seen the actual
yeah, yeah.
setting, and it's pretty cool. I mean, it is what you think of an iconic bar, circa 1970, like
Right.
type of atmosphere. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
believe the interior is completely different. I think they use a set.
Yeah, it's pretty much a new. I think it's pretty much all renovated. They took that piece of the bar that they
Mm.
used, in studio, and they just have that as almost like a museum piece.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
it's not a functioning bar that part of the set,
Mhm.
but you can kind of view it in another room as if it was like a almost like a museum, expose.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So I encourage anybody who's a fan of Cheers, of Mr. Wendt, just go to Boston and just visit the exterior location. It's beautiful, and
Yeah.
it's exactly as it was back in 1982. So
Yeah.
check that out. And also, I
Yeah.
believe, yeah.
I don't know if it's still there,
Mm.
but when I went years ago, they had this thing where you would enter, and right before you went into the bar, they would have you record your name.
Okay.
So, you would say, Chris, and then when you enter the bar, they would say, Chris, like they would,
Nice.
and then like,
Oh, really?
so
That's hilarious. I
yeah.
love that. I love
So, yeah. So like,
that.
it almost had that Norm type of vibe.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I also wanted to mention that I believe all 11 seasons of Cheers are available now streaming on
Mm.
Paramount Plus, as
Hmm.
well as Frasier, the spin-off series, and the Frasier reboot. So if you want to get into the Cheers universe, I recommend going to Paramount Plus right now. It's just a great
Yeah.
streamer for all the classic shows and
Yeah. It's
Cheers.
incredible the legs that show has had over the years, yeah. Yeah.
Classic. Mr. Wendt, you'll be missed, good sir. And
Yes.
if we had a beer right now, I would toast to
No,
him.
I do have wine.
Yes. Oh, good, good. I have my water here.
There you go.
Thank you, sir. Hmm, delicious.
The
All right.
hoity-toity beer.
So let's get into our first review, Mr. Clemente. What do you say?
Sure. Absolutely. Let's do it.
So this film is currently streaming on HBO Max. I believe it was just added to the streamer, and it is the new Bong Joon-ho film called Mickey 17, uh,
Hmm.
and it is a weird sci-fi comedy. It is actually Bong Joon-ho's follow-up to Parasite,
Hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, and it's a weird one, I must say. I watched it. I watched half last night, half this morning, and it was a little difficult to get through, I'll be honest with you. But we'll get into the reasons why in just a moment. I just want to give a little background. It's the story. It starts with Robert Pattinson as a gentleman in the future. I believe it's 2052, so it's a near future. And basically,
Yeah,
the tagline
that's
reads,
crazy that it's so soon.
"Yeah, I know, it's crazy. It's crazy."
Yeah, it's not like 1,000 years from now. It's
Right,
like
right.
literally right around the corner.
Like this stuff could
Yeah.
actually happen.
Right, right.
So basically, the synopsis: during a human expedition to colonize space, Mickey 17, a so-called expendable employee, is sent to explore an ice planet. And during this expedition, they have basically perfected cloning, and basically they reprint Robert Pattinson's character over and over again. And right now he's at the 17th version of himself. And he gets into this strange plot involving a politician played by Mark Ruffalo.
Hmm.
He's got a friend played by Stephen Yoon, who their relationship's a little rocky. Things get a little dark.
Hmm.
And there's a love interest too. And there's a lot going on in this movie. And I was trying to keep up with it, and I wanted to really like it. There are elements of it that I really did enjoy, but overall, I don't think I really loved it. I enjoyed parts of it, but scattered parts. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's disappointing because it's got a lot of very good elements. I think Pattinson was very good in the lead.
Hmm.
Like I said, Ruffalo was great, good too. Toni Collette plays his wife. And I love the production design too. It definitely feels like very otherworldly. And
Hmm.
that part I liked a lot. That's probably my favorite element. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was just something missing here, something real, like an important ingredient I can't put my finger on. My one prediction here is that this film will get a cult following, and I think by that time I will have appreciated this film more.
Hmm.
But Mr. Clemente, what were your thoughts on Mickey 17?
Yeah, no, I think we're going at it at the same place. I feel the same with you. I think I probably like it more than you. But I agree. It's messy. Tonally, it's not neither here or there. It is in the vein of Bong Joon-ho's movies. You know, it's there's a lot going on. It's not consistent, but
Mm,
yet we could say the same about Parasite. We could say the same about Snowpiercer. And
mm,
if I had to like summarize what this movie is, it's pretty much like a love child between Snowpiercer and
mm.
Parasite. You know,
Okay.
for my money, I think my favorite Bong movie is Snowpiercer. I think that's his masterpiece, and it doesn't quite live up to that overall production, but
Mm,
I think there's a lot to take out of this. I think cinematography related. I think it's a beautiful movie. I think it, like you mentioned, I think it really sets the stage in this near future. I think the performances are great. But you're right, there's something there that's not there.
right.
And I think it ultimately probably boils down to a consistency that's not there. It's I think it the tonally it kind of shifts, and I think if it just played it a little bit more, you know, I don't think on the nose is the word, but really just have that same level
Mm,
of tone throughout the movie. I think it would probably elevate it a little bit more.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I ultimately really like this movie. I would recommend it to cinephiles out there. I probably wouldn't recommend it to the everyday person. But like you said, there is this like cult following quality to it that I
Right.
think is going to just get better with multiple watches. Um,
Mm,
so I really dug it. I think it's not my favorite. It doesn't compare as near as Snowpiercer. But it is interesting what Bong Joon-ho does. You know, this movie is about labor, it's about work, it's about the divide in work and rich versus poor, political versus non-political.
yeah.
Whereas Parasite deals with family dynamics and Snowpiercer deals with class. So I think it's almost like this, societal, trilogy that he's kind of pulling
Mm,
together
okay.
in a way. And this is kind of like the third installment of that. Um, but yeah, and I love Pattinson's performance. I think
Yeah.
what he's doing now in his career, just creating, getting these off the chain roles that are really just out there and completely not necessarily blockbuster with the exception of Batman, but
Right.
this Lighthouse, and any others that he's doing is really creating quite the splash in my opinion. So
Yeah.
his performance really stole the show.
Now,
Yeah,
for me, I think the main thing you mentioned the tone of the film. It's all
yeah.
over the place, and something is definitely muddying the waters here. And I
Hmm.
think that it is the fact that they are not focused on a particular genre. It's a sci-fi comedy.
Mm.
We got that. I got that from
Yeah,
the trailer. If they would have
yeah.
stuck to just straight up sci-fi, make it a drama, make it a serious story,
Hmm.
I think there could have been
Hmm.
something more here. But the fact that they throw
Hmm.
the humor in there it kind of threw me, and
Hmm.
I wasn't really digging it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It could also be like a cultural divide.
Hmm.
It could be. a Korean, kind of je ne sais quoi that that's not really, kind of interprets
Huh.
itself into an American culture. Like I'm not sure if you've ever watched Mother,
I
another
have not.
great film of his that is kind of like this. Actually, thinking about it more, the tone really reminds me of Mother,
Hmm.
whereas that was like this noir type of mystery thriller,
Okay.
but it was injected with all these like almost slapsticky,
Yeah.
corny comedy bits that you wouldn't find in something so, thriller based and with tones of murder. So.
Okay.
But again, it could be a cultural divide thing that we're just not used to. Um,
Hmm.
but I don't want to knock it because it has those divides, because that's what makes it special. That's what I come to love with Bong Joon-ho's movie
Hmm.
and in 2025 with such a divide in cinema going, and it's almost surprised that a movie like this was made
Right.
for the theater, that we got something like this. So like I love seeing, this in all its messy glory,
Right.
but
Hmm.
but I agree, it's not like your typical popcorn,
Yeah.
let me just see this sci-fi movie for what it is type of film.
I'm gonna let this film marinate for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna revisit it. I'm gonna say 3 years from now. I'm hoping. I'm
It's
hoping.
I th
Yeah.
and I find that that's with a lot of his films.
Yeah.
Mother, Parasite, The Host.
Yeah.
I probably the only movie of his where I really got it right away was Snowpiercer.
Mm, yeah. That was such
Yeah,
a tight film too, because it was
yeah,
so concentrated on this one
yeah.
day, this one train going around and around the world, and just the
Hmm.
characters within. They're eating roach protein bars or whatever. Oh,
Yum
spoiler,
yum.
but that's a strong film in his filmography, I'd say.
Yeah. Oh
So,
yeah. I would for my money's worth. I think that's his best. Yeah,
gotcha. I'm gonna revisit that, I think, in the near future and check out some of his
yeah,
other stuff. But
yeah,
I want to go back to Pattinson because he is
yeah,
obviously the star of this film. He's a very talented young actor, and
yeah.
you know
He is.
his trajectory is going right now is very good. Kind of similar to that of Val Kilmer almost. I mean, he was Batman. He chooses his roles very well.
Yeah,
He's a good-looking leading man, and he knows a good project when it's sent to him. When he gets a script, he definitely knows what he's doing in saying yes. So
yeah.
I respect that for him. And the one film actually that made me appreciate him and realize that is the next film we're going to talk about. Great film from 2019, The Lighthouse, from the great Robert Eggers, who
Mm-hmm.
is definitely on a roll. He has recently released Nosferatu a few months
Hmm.
back,
Hmm.
and this film just I rewatched it yesterday. I love this movie. It stars Willem
Hmm.
Dafoe and Robert Pattinson as two lighthouse keepers who basically are working together at a lighthouse in off the New England coast, and it's shot in black and white. Very good, stylistic technique from Eggers, I
Hmm.
must say. But basically, in the film, these two men, it's very philosophical, very existential. It's
Hmm.
almost dreamlike. There's moments of questioning identity, sexuality. You don't know what's real and what's not. What's going to happen with these two characters? It's just a very, very interesting film, rooted with fantastic performances from Defoe and Pattinson. And this is a
Hmm.
film that I could rewatch almost endlessly because there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of great themes, and
Hmm.
every time I watch it, I learn something new. And
Hmm.
this is the film that made me realize that Pattinson is a talent that is to be acknowledged.
Hmm.
You know, Chris, I know you're a fan of the film. We've been talking about this for
Yeah,
years. We've never had a
yeah.
chance to actually sit down and
Sit down.
discuss it.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, I am totally in line with you. And it's interesting that you picked this film, not just because of Pattinson, but because of Robert Edgers too. If you know, between the two, Edgars and Ho, Jean Buck John Ho, like it's they're very comparable in a way, where
Okay.
it's like
Hmm.
they do create films that demand repeated viewings, and you might not get it, the first time, and they have their own vision and their own message. And if you're looking at directors that are defining our generation and modern filmmaking, these two would be it. So I think it's great that you chose this one. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't think it has as a watchable quality like it does for you. I wouldn't, put this on repeat,
Hmm.
but it is something that demands multiple viewings, and it's so existential. It is dreamlike, and it's a testament to solitary confinement spaces, and what would happen if you were in this one place, kind of locked up, doing the same role. Like, how would that test your mental health? How would that test your ability to survive and to continue? And what's your breaking point?
Hmm.
So it kind of asks all these questions, and almost like the movies of Bong Joon-ho, like where it's like it kind of poses questions on humanity,
Yeah.
like, but I think what Eggers does, where Ho, kind of stays, is Eggers looks at the individual, whereas I think John Ho, really looks at society, so it's
Okay.
almost like
Hmm.
Eggers is the psychologist, whereas Bong Ho is the sociologist. So
Hmm.
but together they really make up the current cinema landscape. So
Yeah.
um, just great performances. The chemistry between Pattinson and Defoe, it was just a huge triumph. When it
Yeah.
came out, like just the tug of war, the back and forth. Their chemistry really defined that year, really defines that film, and
Yeah.
it's exquisite, so like, I loved it,
Hmm.
but like, looking at Eggers' other filmography, including like Nosferatu, it definitely sets the bar high of where he's going. And what is it? The Northman was. I really love the Northman. Like
Okay.
I know a few people, in our circles, in our critical circles, that didn't like it. But again, it's just a testament of that vision, of that
Yeah.
message, and of the psychology that's going through with that person. So like, it's definitely Eggers is definitely that auteur, that we're kind of lacking nowadays. So
Yeah.
so good on him, and good on this movie, because it's not for everyone, but if you watch it and if you have an open mind, you'll really get a lot out of it.
I really respect artists and, like you said, vision. And
Yeah,
these directors at this point, at the point of the Lighthouse, at the point of Mickey 17,
yeah,
the two artists have definitely achieved notoriety,
yeah,
and they're getting better funding for their projects. And this allows them to really realize their artistic vision, as opposed
yeah,
to, say, like 15, 20 years ago when they're first, basically starting out or having smaller projects. When they get a
yeah,
bigger, I love when they get a bigger budget, they do it the right way. That's why I
yeah,
do respect Mickey 17 for what Ho has accomplished
yeah,
with the money given to him. He's dedicated to his art,
yeah,
and I totally
yeah.
respect that. You
Yeah,
know,
I think it's tough. I think his movie didn't wasn't that great, box office wise. I think it
yeah,
actually produced a deficit for Warner Brothers,
yeah,
but I mean, he was definitely riding, that Oscar, notoriety. So I hope that he can still continue to do that, and make, movies for the theater,
yeah.
because it's funny. I was listening to an interview And the critics said something really interesting, and they're talking about the state of cinema as it's always a discussion point now. And the thing with the young modern audience is that movies
Hmm.
aren't a thing for them. It's not a big wow factor in their lives like it was for us, growing up with our tours from the 70s and also the 90s. It was bigger events for us.
Yeah.
But as people are going less to movies and staying on the couch looking at streaming, it's not becoming an event for them. Yeah, we have, certain events that draw us like Barbenheimer and, Minecraft, did great, but
Hmm.
it's not like the draw that it used to be. So
Right.
that's the thing that kind of upsets where, we have these auteurs that if these two directors were around in the 90s, with the likes of Quentin Tarantino and, Robert Rodriguez or whoever, like they would be more of a name.
Yeah.
Yes, they're getting awards, but their name isn't widely known,
Right.
as a Scorsese, as a Spielberg, which is a shame because they should be, because they're creating timeless message-based movies that, really demand a mass audience to see and love, not just get an Oscar because, they created something special that year, but something
Right.
that really, speaks to a larger audience. So I hope that these two directors continue to make, the message-based films that they're producing because it's great. It's a great piece of cinema.
They know what they're doing. They're accomplished. They're doing better
Hmm.
and better work. And I just want to mention that the Tribeca Festival is starting up in a few weeks, early June.
Hmm.
I'll be there as usual. I love it there.
Hmm.
And talk about emerging talent. There's so many great unsung directors that have submitted their films to the festival, to not just the Tribeca, but to all film festivals. And there's so many great voices out there, so many artistic voices that we have to really acknowledge that because they need to be nurtured, they need to be, seen, heard, and promoted because these are great filming. I'm excited to see some of these films. So far, there's a couple that I have my eye on that are on the radar. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that real quick. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're mentioning that these guys were they were emerging talent at some point. They were
Right.
nobody
Right.
knew the name Eggers 20. I mean,
Yeah.
or what a while ago. So it is really great to see
Yeah.
them get their due. And
Right. Right.
so.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we spoke about Sinners and Ryan Coogler, and
Mhm.
there's so many out there, and
Yeah.
it would be nice to have their name be a little bit more honored and acknowledged, to a wider degree, and have them create these films for cinema because they demand to be seen and heard on a big screen.
Yeah, these are the movies that need to be seen. So, Chris, we only have like a minute left,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to see if there's any plugs on your end. Anything you're working on now?
No, just internal stuff, just stuff on my own accord. I always like to plug. We got that covered.
Hmm.
It's just great reviews going on that site. And just I'll plug the Tribeca Film Festival. I think
Hey,
since that's coming on, like people should go out there and see some really offbeat, obscure, once in a lifetime, never will see it again. But hurrah, hurrah! This is a great film festival. So,
I've been going. This will be my ninth year
awesome.
consecutively. Love it.
Yeah.
That's like my home away from home, really.
Hmm.
And I'm
Hmm.
very excited. Hopefully, I'm going to be doing some red carpets again this year. Some good
Cool.
talent, some interviews should be good. But
Cool.
I just want to go back to Mickey 17, now streaming on HBO Max. Check that
Hmm.
out. And The Lighthouse. Also want to mention it was an A24 release, which
Hmm.
is basically my favorite production company right now.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and that is available to rent on Prime. So
Hmm.
check those out. Also, please check out Under the Radar through SiriusXM on Slam Radio, and that's every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and also Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Mhm.
Also, the video version of Under the Radar can be seen on Manhattan Neighborhood Network Mondays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. And feel free to subscribe to the Under the Radar YouTube channel. Subscribe and share the love. So,
Cool.
Chris Clemente, as always, you're amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, buddy. Yeah, thank
It's
you.
great. And I hope to see you again real soon. I'm Randy Younger. This is Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. We'll see you next time. Take care.